Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Vocal Code Conversations with your host, Sharleen Linton. I am the Vocal Alchemist, and I am with an amazing guest today. I cannot wait to introduce her to you and tell you all about her. And we're really going to delve into her career and her speaking, and she's got a very fascinating voice that I cannot wait to read. And so I, as a vocal alchemist, I support speakers to really activate their genius when it comes to your speaking engagements. And I help you to have the authority and the magnetism and the confidence to really speak into existence those things into your business that you wish to be there. I literally teach you that your voice is a divine tool of creation. You can speak things from nothing into something. And today I have the amazing Jenee Johnson with me. She is a speaker. She is a teacher. She teaches on racial trauma and mindfulness. And I'm going to allow her to really expand and tell you guys what it is that she does. As I mentioned, I'm going to be reading her voice, and she's got some really nice frequencies in there. As a vocal alchemist, I am attuned to hear energetic frequency in people's voices. So that means that if you are speaking to me, even about your favorite ice cream flavor, I can hear your belief systems and I can hear your characteristics. And that helps me to serve you to be a leader on and off the podium. So welcome, Jenee.
Thank you so much, Sharleen. It's wonderful to be with you.
Thank you
Really
for being
terrific.
here, really. So I'd love for you to really expand upon what it is that you do, because I know I've mentioned just a small part. And I want you to tell us, what is it that really draws you to this thing? Because what I sense from you is that you're multifaceted, multi-talented. So why this? What is the draw and the pull?
Yes, I have had a very eclectic career path, and these last years, several years, I'm going to say the last 17 of so years, I landed in the Department of Public Health in San Francisco. And my work there was to direct a maternal health program for Black women, looking at how do we help Black women move through pregnancy in a vibrant and a healthy way, such that they have positive birth outcomes. Because what the data was telling us was that Black babies and Black women were not surviving. Black women were dying in childbirth in this day and time, and our babies were being born prematurely, preterm, too soon, and too small. And so my work was to create programming within our city and with our state to support Black women in flourishing. Now that is very juicy to me. How do we look at the promotion of life? And in so doing that, we looked at lifestyle and stress and how to rewrite the narrative that was being created for one outside of yourself and change that such that your health outcomes would reflect what you truly believe and what you desire and what you want. And that's my lane. I'm a certified professional coactive coach. I have trained as a minister. I have a Christ-centered faith. I integrate many other things, the feminine arts. I'm a Fematune teacher. Fem is a meditative and movement modality for women that takes women on an emotional tour and lands them in a place where they can fully self-express. So this work was just, I'm going to say it was a calling. It happened to be it was a structure that was right for my gifts. And as I was doing this work, I began to help women look at their daily rituals and practices. And that, from there, we introduced mindfulness, which we call quiet sitting, which I got the term from a beautiful doctor here in California, Dr. Frank Staggers Jr., who back in the 70s studied meditation worldwide. And he came back and offered what he called quiet sitting to his patients in his clinic. And what he saw was that when people adopted this ritual, this practice of daily sitting quietly, just letting the thoughts roll by, sitting in front of the ocean, watching the waves come in and out for a period of 20 minutes, that high levels of blood pressure dropped, people were able to manage chronic illnesses better, and people were healing. So fast forward, there's a ton of research on the benefits of sitting quietly, the benefits of meditation. And then that moved me into another department. I had an arc in my career, and I landed in the Trauma-Informed Systems Initiative, which is all about trauma and how do we look at trauma as an organization, looking at how we're traumatizing to ourselves and to others, and what can we actually do about that. And so I trained to teach what we call a trauma orientation. The whole 9,000 staff employees in the Department of Public Health are mandated to take this. And from there, I saw once again, something's missing. People are interested in understanding and deepening how to respond to the trauma question. The trauma question is not what's wrong with them, not what's wrong with me. The trauma question is, what has happened to you? And when you ask the question, what has happened, it invites us to set context, to look at strengths, and to have compassion for the one looking in as well as the one looking at themselves. And then that sets you on a road of looking at your strengths and building resilience and recovering. So as I moved in trauma, I said, once again, something's missing. And I think it is this practice of quiet sitting, this practice of mindfulness. And so through a series of conversations, we landed with an organization called Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute. It was curated at Google, it's worldwide. They had never worked with a public institution before. I forwarded that relationship, became trained to offer mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and the neuroscience that supports both, and brought it into the Department of Public Health. And now it's a thing.
Wow.
Now it's a thing. We are in the midst of training 18 people to be mindfulness teachers like myself. So I have been a leader in this, and I will just show you. I thought I had. I landed on the cover of Mindful Magazine.
That's amazing. You look amazing.
Thank you. This was a great photo shoot. It was so much fun.
Oh, you look beautiful. Look at you. Look.
I landed on the cover of Mindful Magazine to talk about this amazing work. I started being asked to speak at places. I'm actually doing a webinar on Thursday with the mayor of San Francisco on wellness and resilience and thriving. But my lane is thriving. My lane is joy. My lane is how do we help people move from the lower dimensions and registers of emotion to the upper registers of emotion with joy and optimism and contentment and positivity live. Because it's in those upper registers, that's where the healing takes place. That's where manifestation happens. And it doesn't mean that you do not experience the vicissitudes of life, because we do. There are times when it is absolutely appropriate to be deeply sad, to grieve our losses, to feel disappointment. But what we do not want to do is live there. And what has been the victim story for people of African ancestry, I can speak very particularly about America, the victim story has been the chronic stress of experiencing discrimination and racism. And it is stressful. And it is a thing. It's not like it doesn't exist. But what I have found is, what is our way through that, such that we can live at the upper registers of emotion where we were actually designed to live. So my work, when it comes now to racial healing, it's about rewriting the narrative, telling our true story. The story begins not in enslavement. The story begins 300,000 years ago on the continent of Africa, and how Africans were the only people on the face of the earth, and then fanned out from that place to populate East and West Asia and the rest of the world. And from there, we have the development they carried with them. They think of talking about codes, encoded with them were these practices that also lived in the Egyptian mystery schools and in the universities. And so fast forward once again, once we get to enslavement, we didn't bring books with us, but these practices were encoded in us. And that's why you see in the African diaspora, Black people have a way of uplifting, bringing joy, because it's sown inside of the field of our soul. My work is simply having us reclaim that. It's a work of reclamation. Sankofa, go back and get it, girl. The reclamation. And so recently I founded an organization. It's called The Right Within Experience. From the line in the Lauryn Hill song where she says, how you gonna win when you ain't right within? So the right within experience is for the reclamation of joy, of humanity, joy, and well-being for people of African ancestry through mindful practice. And so I was recently funded to curate and pilot this work, and that's what I'm in the midst of right now. So I have two things, my public health hat, if you will, and my work as a founder.
That's amazing. And you know something, it's interesting, you know, I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to you again. And I'm really picking up the shape of your voice. It's like, sometimes it's hard to articulate, but your voice, imagine you were to see a photograph of a water droplet dropping into the sea, and then as it splashes, and then freeze frame. So you've seen all of the droplets coming out each way as the droplet makes contact with the sea. That is the shape of your voice, meaning that you send things in different directions at the same time, like pew, 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 simultaneously, effortlessly. Wow. And it doesn't surprise me that you've worn many hats, and that you are still wearing hats, plural, because your voice has the ability, to establish and make it skyrocket. Many things at once. That's what I can really hear in your voice. And it's interesting because when I hear you speak, I can hear that you embody joy. I can hear it. Those upper frequencies of joy and optimism and love and all of those things, I can hear that that's where you live. There's for those who are watching and those who are on Spotify listening, there's such a thing called the consciousness map. And it describes in great detail all of the different frequencies that are available. So everything from, I think shame is the lowest, right
Yes.
up until enlightenment.
Yes.
And what I see is, when I listen to you, is that everything joy and below is shaded out on the map in regards to your voice, like you don't even access those frequencies. And I love what you said about when you need to experience sadness, you move through it and you feel it, and then you don't live there.
Yes.
It just seems like that is an address that is foreign
Yes.
to you, which is why I saw that it was shaded out.
Wow.
So that's what I'm picking up about your voice so far. What I want to know is, in regards to being committed to the pathway of joy, what was it that made you or invited you to make that decision? Because it is a decision to live there.
You know, I must tell you that I believe in some ways it is my imprint. And why I say that is because I remember an occasion, I was 4 years old, and my parents, we went to church, and my father was singing in the choir. He had the big black robe on, and he was rushing to get into the choir stand. And so we ran into the church door. I went to a small little community church, Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, Staten Island, New York. Our bishop was from Sierra Leone. This is a church of immigrants because my family's from the Caribbean. So people are all, in the pews, and my father rushes in, and then I rush to the front of the church. And I go from pew to pew, kissing everyone. And people were leaning out of the pews to get kisses from me.
Yeah.
Who is that? And a cousin of mine who is still alive to this day, she's in her 90s. On the occasion of her 88th birthday, I'm in California, they're in New York, we're having a conversation. And she said to me, "Do you remember when you ran up and down kissing everyone?" And I said, "You remember that?" And she said to me, "How could anyone forget?" And so I think that there is a natural exuberance, enthusiasm, and later I learned that enthusiasm is the word entheos, in God. So there's a natural in God in me that moves in that direction. And once again, not that I don't experience all that there is to experience in the human in life. I experience all of it. But at a certain point, it clicks over. Especially in relationship, especially in social engagement, there's the opportunity to click over. Another time, my godfather, so dear to us, got very sick, and my mom said, "I'm sorry, there's noise behind us. I hope it's not distracting." But my mother said, "We must leave. We must go." I think we were going to the hospital or something. And so she left the room, and it was, I had to get myself dressed. And as I'm getting dressed, I was standing in the mirror, and I just started dancing. And she came in the room and she says, "What are you doing? We've got to go." "What are you doing?" "Finish, get it. We got to go." And then I remember feeling that, oh, am I supposed to be, I'm supposed to be sad. I'm supposed to hurry up. But I think it was this natural something in my untampered with system, because I was still young, that said, "You have just heard this thing. You've got to move it through your body." I didn't have the words that I have now to understand that that is how you help trauma not be stuck in your system. You know, the zebra he's being chased by the lion, and he gets away. High levels of trauma. But when he gets away and he stops, he shakes it off and then goes about his way. So I think that there is something that God just gave me. And then I have, over the years, continued to develop it. And then what I realize is, I like that. I like that feeling.
Yeah.
So let's just work that. So
yeah,
let's work that.
Another quality that I'm really enjoying about your voice, you definitely have exuberance, but you also have, there's an edge to your voice, if I can describe it. It's like it has the ability to kind of pierce through what doesn't serve, to create space for what needs to be there. And what that means is that if any corporations do want to ignore you, you're going to be pretty hard to ignore. And I wanted to find out what your experience has been, either collaborating with corporations or working on your own projects. What has your experience been using your own voice?
Well, interestingly enough, the reason why I had an arc in my career and moved from the maternal health arena to trauma is because my voice became threatening to the powers that be inside of a particular container in the department. And so I was how do I say it? I was gently escorted to another arena. Right. So they could not fire me because I had certainly done nothing worthy of that, but they made it clear that they felt I was no longer a fit, even though my work was stellar, and I mean stellar. And even though I had made San Francisco a jewel in the crown of the state work. When there's a certain, when I think when you start to vibrate at a certain frequency, some people like it and some people don't. So in my new area, the leader there, I had already had a relationship with him, and he just, just do what you, just create, because what I did was I created something. There was not what I do. I am the only person in the whole Department of Public Health that does this. I am the one and only program innovation leader. I lead innovation, mindfulness, trauma, racial healing. No one else has that title. I created it. So what that frequency did, it essentially powered me out of somewhere into somewhere else where I could actually truly be myself and grow. And so I think that the corporate sector, I have mainly worked for public service organizations and agencies. I think who resonates more with me are people who, for example, the philanthropist who I met, I spoke at Wisdom 2.0, which is a mindfulness contemplation event meets technology. And all the big guys, Twitter, Yahoo, Google, etc. And people who are innovators, people who are thinking. So I spoke there, and I met a San Francisco philanthropist, and he became very interested in me, the work, and he actually funded a piece of the work that I do in public health, where I'm
Wow.
now training these 18 people to be mindfulness teachers. This philanthropist, so essentially I brought in outside money. I did not use government money to do this. And when we were having this conversation, I said, I have my own stuff. He said, well, send it to me. And then I just downloaded the Right Within experience. I sent it to him, and he's funding me for his foundation is funding me for 3 years. So I think that this vibration lands well with other people who are innovators. I don't think it necessarily connects to systems, corporations, and public agencies. There may be people inside of those systems who also share that, and then may be champions of my work. But for me to actually land in those places, I think that they're not big enough for me.
Mm-hmm. No, I can understand that. I can understand that um, somebody embodying your traits needs room.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when we first started having this conversation, I saw, I don't know what the name of the flower is, but I saw you like this flower, and it was peachy orange, but it was like this big, almost like this frangipani kind of blossom. And that kind of flower needs room.
Yes.
It just truly does. And so I'm really glad that you have found one of your lanes, because it's just one of
Yes.
them.
Yes.
So what do you feel the divine is calling you to next? Is that
Mm.
something that you've considered, or is that something that you can share?
Yes, it's interesting because I spend time with teachers who engage in metaphysics, and it has helped me to fill in gaps and tune into the nuances of myself. And last year, I was in a feminine leadership mastermind with other women who were, all these other women were in business for themselves, and I was the only person actually who had a job. I worked for a public agency. And what I discovered there was that actually I don't want to have my own business because my husband has a business. And then I figured out, oh, what I'm actually supposed to do is take these talents and gifts and integrate so that we can do this thing together. And then he's been like, oh, yes, what a great idea. Wow, and so that's kind of where I'm going, is looking at how do I continue to build my vision, but be supported in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to actually offer a course on joy called the Joy Collective. I put it out on Facebook, post, and then I was not quite something. And my teacher said, well, are you collapsing? And then I had to look at that. And then what I realized is, no, actually, I'm not collapsing. This is not fun for me. It's not the topic. The topic is fabulous. The topic is totally me. What really my soul says right now is to be of service, Jenee. My opening to the world in this moment is to be of service. So I'm about to create a whole new landing page and offer it to the world as a gift. X number of slots, you sign up, and then you give a love offering for your experience. And in this way, people can experience me, get the gift that I'm offering, because our time, we're in very interesting times. And I just feel, as someone who is so well resourced, that what the divine, what God is saying is, give the gift and you will receive back so much more.
Right.
And so that's what I'm feeling is my very next step, is to offer the gift of the Joy Collective. It won't be a series as I had planned. It will be a gift of one luscious, delicious session to help people understand the difference between joy and happiness, how to live in the upper registers of emotion, and understand what the barriers are to our joy. And then they will have the opportunity to work with me, if they so desire, in a way that feels good to me. So I just felt like I needed a turn, because part of what I'm here to do too is, it's three things. It's service, it's community, and then there's this high levels of insight, awareness, and reflection. And the money will follow. Because that's just how it is. But I have a gift that I need to offer. It's almost like giving your offering, you know? It's almost like a tithe. You have an offering, and you practice the law of giving and receiving. And so what I recognize is that, one, I don't need a business. I already have one. And two, that I needed to, and inside of that is so much freedom then for me to create whatever I want, the way I want it, whenever I want to. Eliminating all hustle, but only ease and flow.
Thank you for sharing that. And it provides a great segue into my next question about flow, because you mentioned the fact that trauma needs to leave the body. Absolutely. And you mentioned dancing in the mirror and understanding, with more understanding now, that movement provides an exit route.
Yes.
So I'd love for you to talk more about that, why feminine movement is so beneficial for women, and what practically women can really gain from engaging with a teacher like yourself around feminine flow.
Well, movement is medicine. Movement, so the neuroscience behind movement is that it grows a portion of the brain called the hippocampus, which is also why it's important for seniors to move, to walk, to garden, because it helps to address cognitive decline. And movement elevates the happy hormones. So the cascading hormones of stress, the cortisol, the adrenaline, etc. Movement elevates, you know, we talk about the runner's high, how runners feel that because they have all this, the delicious happy hormones, you know, the serotonin and others that flood the body when we move our bodies. And we were never designed, so in this day of shelter in peace, shelter in place, there's all this sitting. And I'm even noticing, I mentioned to you at the beginning, I had to get an extra pillow because I don't sit this much. I'm you know, out and about and moving. And so the cornerstone is movement is medicine. Movement ushers in the happy hormones that elevate. And for women, we are so mercurial. We have access to all these feelings. And if we're not attending and nourishing and nurturing, we can take a downward slide very quickly.
Mm.
The data says that women have higher rates of depression than men.
Mm.
Something around, I say, in modern life that we're not attending to. So when a woman attends to moving her body and dropping in to sensing the fullness of her womb space, her hips, and finding that place, even just while you're brushing your teeth, put on a song and roll your hips and move.
Mm.
It activates, it's healing. And then when we do our practice, such as FEM, which, as I said, it's a 90-minute program that moves women through emotion and helps them to open up heart and body space and connect and get out of our heads, drop into the fullness of our heart and our womb. And you take this journey and and we do it to drumming. So then you have the
Nice.
the depth of the primal reflection of your heartbeat and other music. It elevates. It elevates. And in modern life, we need elevation desperately, because the programming in modern life, what sells in modern life is negativity. Is do this so you don't get that.
Right.
Or if you do this, here are all the side effects. Or, I mean, I don't watch the news when I travel, but I can tell you, in America, the news, the 6 o'clock, the 5 o'clock, the 11 o'clock news, the lead is always with some kind of negativity, some kind of tragedy. And then they want to tell us about all the tragedies that happened, 50,000 miles away. Do I need to know that? Do I really need to know that? And so we're bombarded with it. And so you have to have an answer to that. You have to have a way to not only navigate through that, but to nourish yourself in another direction. And if we are intentional, if we set an intention, then the intention will arrange itself naturally around what we intend. If we use our imagination, then reality will wrap itself around that. But movement is medicine, and it's a medicine that we all need.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Thank you.
And, I, for one, know the benefits of, just dancing and moving. And some days, because I work from home, some days I just want to go out for a walk, and I go out for a 30-minute stroll around my neighborhood, and I come back and I feel completely shifted.
Absolutely. I'd love to share with you, as part of my research, I came across the Rwandan prescription for depression. And it seemed that after the genocide in Rwanda, Western psychologists went in to try to help heal people, help them manage the trauma of the genocide. And the story goes is that several of the Rwandans said we had to kick them out because they wanted to bring us into these small little dingy rooms and have us talk about and relive the trauma of what we had experienced. But our answer to depression is sun, drum, dance, community. And that's what I teach in my work. Sun, drum, dance, community. That is the answer. It is not sitting in the dingy little room. So when I talk about the Joy Collective, even, I say, sisters, you thought that processing pain was your pathway to joy, but it is not. No, baby girl, it is not.
This is so yummy. It's so yummy. Thank you so
Definitely.
much. I've had goosebumps several times during this conversation, and I
Thank you.
have them now. And you know, just yesterday, the divine dropped into me that the thing that we're all searching for. I mean, you speak about joy, um, and I was thinking about love. This thing that we all are searching for is right here. We don't need to go through the drudgery of pain in order to get there. We just need to receive it
Yes.
and keep receiving it and keep receiving it and make that
Yes.
choice every moment of every day.
Yes.
And sadness will come and you let it flow, and then you receive joy again, and you receive and you receive. And that's what it is to be responsible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joy is something that is connected to two things. It's connected to many things, but two things kept coming up in my exploration. One is connected to our relationship to the divine,
Mm-hmm.
because joy is a fruit of the spirit.
Yes.
And with any fruit tree, right? You cultivate it, you water it, give it a little food, make sure it has sunshine. And
Mm.
the other thing that joy is connected to gratitude. In my exploration, gratitude kept coming up in connection to joy. Because what gratitude does, even in the depths of despair, it has you look around and say, okay, but what is working well here? Hot water for my tea. I mean, it could be the simplest of things, but it has you shift your perspective. And so and I think all of it, back to what you were saying, is fueled by love,
Mm.
because love is the character of the divine.
Mm-hmm.
So all of it is fueled by love.
For sure. So what are you choosing to be grateful for? And I say choosing because gratitude is a choice.
It is.
So what is it that you are choosing to be grateful for?
Well, in this moment, my my choice, what bubbles up is being able to connect with you and be in this conversation.
Mm.
It is such a gift to be able to sit with someone and reveal yourself and talk about yourself,
Yeah.
and to have someone listen. I could cry. It's such a gift. It's such an offering to just say,
Mm.
tell me about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? What happened to you? The story of 4-year-old, I don't even know that I would have said that today to anyone.
Mm.
I don't think that would have come up anywhere today. So I think in this moment, it's the gift of being seen, the gift of
Mm-hmm.
being listened to. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for that.
Mm. And that is such a gift. It really is. It really is. And thank you for saying so. I, it's interesting because as public speakers, as entrepreneurs, there is a lot of training out there about alliteration and eye contact and projection and range and all of these different things. The way I like to teach and coach is about becoming a leader, not just talk about being a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about frequency is that joy and optimism has the power to really magnetize your audience to you.
Mm.
And it does it very effortlessly. And it means that you can be on a Facebook Live, or you can be on a podium, when we're back to offline, face-to-face public speaking. And really imagine, magnetizing your audience just because you're happy.
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to. And I like to coach in this way because it becomes very effortless. And there is not all of these techniques to remember, even though I do teach technique, yes. It becomes about being fully in the moment and letting your goosebumps become everybody else's goosebumps, because you're so enamored with your thing, your topic, and that just travels like skipping a stone, you know, along the river. It travels and it travels and it travels. So I am so thankful to have you here. You have impacted my evening. It is 8 p.m. here in the UK.
Oh my.
And I am so happy to have connected with you. Can you tell people where to find you?
Yes, my website is www.JeneeJohnson.com. That's JENEE Johnson, JOHNSON.com. And it speaks about my work and how to work with me. And we'll be putting up the Joy Collective in a little bit, and just inviting people to come in and learn a little about joy and take it into their lives, because we should have it, we need it, and it's an ingredient that will help us to meet the challenges that are continuing to roll our way. I don't think that we're complete as a world collective around that. And
Yeah.
and it's great when we have sun, drum, dance, community.
That sounds yummy to me. Honestly, it really does. Thank you so much for being here. I really
Thank you.
I appreciate your beauty. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate the fact that you live what you teach. You are a model of what you teach. You are a true embodiment of what you speak about, and your authenticity and your natural authority is very compelling. And I am wishing you all the love, all the best in the world, because you deserve it.
Thank you
You
so
deserve it.
much. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much. It
much.
was such an honor. You are gorgeous. I am crushing on you. I'm crushing on you, girl. And your beautiful orange, my favorite color.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So stay on the line. I'm going to end the recording. Okay. For those who have been watching this conversation from beginning to end, I appreciate your presence. I appreciate your love. Please like, comment, and share. And if you wish to work with me, the website is myvocaltherapy.com. And if you are on YouTube, feel free to subscribe. If you are on Spotify, please feel free to follow. So stay on the line, and I'll see you guys later.